If your hand saw binds or wanders, do not throw it away yet. Most ordinary hand saws can cut again when the teeth are restored by hand. The saw stalls in the cut. People buy a new one, or they hit the teeth with a grinder. Look at the tips under light. They are often uneven. When the geometry is restored, the same saw can track freer and chip cleaner. My name is Walt Kessler. On this channel, every claim has to survive a measurement or a source. This episode is settled by the tooth line, the file stroke, and a proof cut. I will show you how to read the teeth, when to stop, and the hand sequence that puts an edge back without wrecking. Stay with me. By the end of this, you will know whether your saw is still serviceable, and you will know the order of work for this weekend. Start with what the saw is doing wrong. A dull or poorly set hand saw burns effort. It wanders off the line. It binds in the kerf. That is the problem this episode is built for. This is not every saw. A carbide tipped blade is outside this method. A factory hardened throwaway blade is outside this method. A plate that is kinked or cracked is outside this method. Large missing teeth are outside this method. If that is what you have, stop and replace the tool or use a proper service. Do not force a file onto a construction it cannot restore. Also, this is not a power reciprocating blade, a circular blade, or a chainsaw. Those are different tools and different geometry. A hand saw does not cut with the flat of the plate. The plate is a beam that carries the teeth. The cut happens at the tips. If the tips are rounded, uneven, or poorly set, the saw feels dead even when the plate still looks fine. Here is the core idea. Call it the even tooth line. Before you dig deep with a file, the tips should share one height so every tooth can take its share. If you file hard on a saw with tall and short tips, you keep polishing the tall ones, and you never bring the short ones into the cut. That is the method in order. Joint the tooth line so the tips are even. File each tooth with a triangular file at a stable rake for the pattern you have. Set lightly only if the kerf. Joint lightly again, then prove the result on scrap. That order is the whole job. Now the setup. Clamp the saw so the tooth line is steady and your hands are clear. Wear eye protection. Do not freehand a stroke toward your body. A tooth point can still cut skin when the rest of the blade feels dull. Jointing is a light pass along the tips with a flat file or a fine stone so the highest tips get a tiny bright flat. You are not trying to erase the teeth. You are marking who is tall. Stop when most tips show a similar tiny flat. That is the even tooth line you will file against. Choose a triangular file that fits the gullets without jamming. Secure your grip. File one tooth at a time. Match the existing rake as best you can see under light. A rip pattern usually looks more upright for long grain. A crosscut pattern usually looks more angled across the tips. Keep the pattern you already have. Do not invent a second rake on the same row. Push the file on the cutting stroke. Lift or ease on the return so you do not round the tip by scrubbing both ways with the same pressure. Work systematically along the row. Many Western hand saws alternate tooth set left and right. Keep the order so you do not leave a section high while another section is over-filed. After a few teeth, stop and look again under light. Bright flats should be shrinking as the tips become sharp edges. If one tooth is gone and the neighbors are taking over, stop and reassess. Missing structure is not fixed by more pressure. Do not chase a spark show. Thin tips overheat easily under a power grinder. Heat can ruin the edge you are trying to save. The hand file is slower on purpose. It keeps you in control of geometry. When the tips look even and sharp, check the kerf. The set is the left and right bend that gives the blade clearance in the cut. If the saw still pinches hard in green or thick stock after the teeth are sharp, a light set with a saw set tool can help. If the saw already tracks with room, do not add set just because a video made set look mandatory. Overset makes a wide, rough kerf and can make the saw wander. If you set, work lightly and evenly. Alternate sides as the tooth pattern requires. Then take one more light joint pass so any tip that rose during set shares the even tooth line again. Proof is not a shiny reflection. Proof is behavior in wood. Use a scrap board you can clamp. Start a cut on the waist side of a line. Feel whether the saw starts without skating. Feel whether it tracks without constant steering. Look at the chip and the kerf. Compare that behavior with the bind or wander you had at the start of the episode. This proof is a teaching check on scrap. It shows the checkpoints. It is not a timed job site trial. Common mistakes are simple. People grind first and destroy tip support. People file without jointing and keep missing the short teeth. People round the tips by scrubbing the file both ways. People overset until the saw is loose and rough. People force a file on carbide or on a plate that is already cracked. Safety stays plain. Eye protection, stable workholding, controlled strokes, fingers clear of the points. No power grinder as the main plan for thin tips. No filing on a blade you cannot identify as an ordinary hand-fileable tooth form. Write down what the evidence says. The even tooth line comes first, then the file, then set only if the kerf needs it, then a proof cut on scrap. If the plate is damaged or the tips are not there, the honest answer is stop. This weekend, pick one ordinary hand saw that still has its teeth. Clamp it. Joint for an even tooth line. File with a triangular file. Set only if the cut still pinches. Then prove it on scrap. Which failure showed up at your bench? Uneven tips, no set, or a plate that was already done? Tell me your county while you're at it. I read every one of these. Next time, a rusty plane iron, a soft stone, and one bevel most people file away too fast. Measure it before you replace it. Most things are not broken. They are just out of adjustment.